Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I have got a recipe video. This recipe is perfect for springtime when you're kind of craving those spring fresh flavors, but you don't exactly have access to them, or those things have not grown in your garden yet. So today's recipe is a spring kale pesto. I myself have been craving like fresh basil pesto. Last year I grew a whole bunch of basil, but this time of year my basil is only about this big, and while basil does grow rather quickly, it's not nearly ready to be made into pesto. But what I did have was a very large bunch of kale in my fridge that was about to go bad, and kale is ready to be harvested right about now if you were able to grow it early enough. So this recipe, like many of my other recipes, is very flexible. It can be changed. The ingredients aren't set in stone. The amounts aren't set in stone. I like to make up a big batch so that I can freeze some for later. And if you haven't seen my how to freeze in glass jars, I will leave a link to that video in the cards because that is what I use to freeze my extra pesto. So without further ado, if you, like me, are craving some pesto, then let's get into the recipe. So for this recipe, I use pretty much a whole bunch of kale that you can purchase at the grocery store, just like one bunch, which is about 3 to 4 cups of kale. So in order to prep the kale, all I did was rinse it thoroughly. You really want to make sure you rinse it really good, especially if it's coming from your garden. And then I simply just de-stemmed the kale. You can save the stems to make some broth with, or you can just compost them. The rest of the ingredients for this recipe are going to be a 1/3 cup of nuts. You can really use any kind of nuts that you want. I have done walnuts, I've done almonds, cashews, sometimes I do a mix of both. I like to kind of sprinkle the nuts in between the layers of kale. The next ingredient is going to be lemon juice. So I use about half a lemon squeezed. The next thing you're going to need is 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Depending on your garlic preference, you can add more or less. I like to kind of pre-chop my garlic just into smaller chunks before sprinkling them on top of the food processor. Then the last couple ingredients are some salt and pepper to taste. A note for pesto, because it is concentrated, I typically like to make it a bit saltier than I like. So then the last ingredient is going to be olive oil, and the way I put in the olive oil is I start pulsing everything together in the food processor, and then I drizzle the olive oil on the top. After your pesto has been thoroughly mixed and it's all combined, you can transfer it to some jars or containers. I usually transfer most of the excess into jars to freeze because this recipe makes quite a bit of extra. So if you enjoyed this recipe and you would like to see some more simple plant-based from scratch cooking, I will leave my playlist linked in the cards and you can check out those videos. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up because it really helps out my channel. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss when I post a new video. I've been posting lots of videos recently, so you don't want to miss out. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video.